Good morning, everyone. I'm just waiting just a second. I want to make sure all the online participants, I see that number continue to climb, so we'll wait just another minute. All right, good morning and welcome everyone to the January 23rd, 2026 California Broadband Council meeting. I am Leanna Bailey Crimmins, the California State Chief Information Officer, the Director of California Department of Technology, and I also have the honor of being the Chair of the California Broadband Council. Before we get started, I'd love to acknowledge the people behind the scenes. They are the ones that make this smooth and happen every single quarter. And so first, I want to thank the Sacramento County Administrative Center and their staff for supporting today's California Broadband Council. And of course, all of the CDT staff that are checking mics and making sure things are running smoothly. Without you, again, this would be a lot more difficult meeting. So thank you very much. We value your service. The first order of business today is roll call. So Ms. Nguyen, will you please start with the roll and also review the meeting housekeeping items?
Thank you. Good morning, council members and members of the public. Council members, please announce your presence as your name is called. State Chief Information Officer and Director Bailey Crimmins.
Here.
Commissioner Hawk from California Public Utilities Commission.
Here.
Deputy Director Yarbrough from the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services.
Here.
Mr. Jeff Bello from the California Department of Education.
Present.
Chief Deputy Director Kenny from the Department of General Services. Undersecretary Hacker from the California State Transportation Agency.
Present.
Ms. McPeak from the California Emerging Technology Fund. Present. Deputy Secretary Flores from the California Department of Food and Agriculture.
Here.
Mr. Chisholm from the California State Library.
Present.
Secretary Snyder Ashtari from the Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs.
Here.
Ms. Sarah Smith from the Senate. Ms. Vicencia from the Assembly. Madam Chair, we have quorum. Now, housekeeping items for council members and members of the public. This meeting is being recorded. We will post the recording of this meeting, slides, and transcripts to the Broadband for All portal. Attendees, please note that there is time allocated at the end of the meeting for public comments, either in person, via Zoom, phone, and read-through of public comment sent via email submitted prior to the meeting. Presenters, please cue Amanda to advance your slides. Committee members, please use your raise your hand feature on Zoom or raise your hand in person to notify Director Bailey Crimmins to call on you to speak. Note that if you use side-by-side speaker view when PowerPoints are shared for best viewing experience, closed captioning is available on Zoom and hand raise on Zoom using the Zoom feature or *9 if you called in by phone. Madam Chair, we can begin.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. All right, today's meeting is the Council's first meeting of 2026, and I'd like to begin with a few opening remarks. As you know, the Broadband for All program consists of several different coordinated initiatives and efforts aimed at closing the digital divide and fostering digital equity throughout California. We have a full agenda today, beginning obviously with our executive report out from Deputy Director Scott Adams. And we also are going to hear Broadband for All updates, which will include several sub-items. The updates will include Broadband for All Action Plan Review and Revision, Middle Mile Broadband Initiative, CPUC's Last Mile programs, Adoption/Affordability, and the State Digital Equity Plan. And this year, as we did last year, we are continuing our Spotlight program. We have a Spotlight for members, and we have a Spotlight for community. The Member Spotlight on the agenda is a feature that allows the council members' organizations to talk about what they're doing in relation for Broadband for All in achieving the goals for the Broadband Action Plan. We also have, and today, as one of those member spotlights, we get to hear from Broadband Opportunity Program Manager Josh Chisholm, who will present the excellent work that's going on with the California State Library. We are also honored to have a community spotlight. The community spotlight today will be from founder and CEO Leonardo Sosa, who will share the impactful work that's going on at Dev/Mission. And finally, as Ms. Nguyen alluded to earlier, there will be an opportunity for public comment. Would any of the council members, before we get started with the official opening of the agenda, would anybody like to make comments? So I'll open it up to first at the dais. All right. I think it's not showing up on my screen. So Sunny.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say I've not been in these beautiful chambers since I was a county supervisor and an officer of the State Association of Counties. So it's been a long, long time, but it is so convenient. So thank you. Let's hope that we have the goodwill of Sacramento County to continue to make it available.
Thank you, Ms. Peak. All right. Do I see any other member comments at the dais? Anybody online? All right, I don't see any, so we're going to go ahead and start with the first agenda, which is the executive report out from the Deputy Director of Office in Broadband and Digital Literacy, Mr. Scott Adams.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, council members, and members of the public. It's my pleasure to provide a brief executive report out on our work since the last meeting in October. Next slide, please. So I think a brief overview is that we completed the annual action plan review and revision process as called for in the state action plan and directed by the council at the last meeting. We've continued to work to update the state digital equity plan, both in implementing those things that we can given the changing climate and funding. We've released a request for innovative ideas related to that we'll talk about later, and continue to do what we're directed to do both by the action plan and the state digital equity plan, and that's to engage with stakeholders through a number of monthly meetings and community of practice and listening sessions. Next slide, please. Wanted to share with you this. You may remember at last October's community meeting, our community spotlight was given by Matthew Rantanen from Waska-Wewin on the tribal broadband boot camps that they conduct across the nation to support and empower tribal communities to establish and maintain their own broadband networks. As you know, Broadband for All's focus is bringing connectivity to all California residents, including those on tribal lands. I actually had the pleasure of attending and participating in the last tribal broadband boot camp in November. And, you know, it was amazing. There were over 78 different attendees from California tribes and tribes across the nation. In addition to myself, there were 3 of the Public Utilities Commission's permitting experts. There was a representative from the Los Angeles-based Broadband Consortia, and it was really amazing here because it was an opportunity for us to get away from the, you know, Sacramento-based, the planning and the big infrastructure, and you know, we can very much visualize conduit and fiber going into the ground and towers in our along our freeways and in our urban communities. But it was really eye-opening and heartening to really sit side by side with folks who live in much more rural places, and to learn with and from them some of the skills that are required to do this, from crimping workshops to really understanding the dynamics of and the components of a passive optical fiber network, learning about huts and splice boxes, fiber splicing. They actually did a demonstration how to string fiber between poles, set up outdoor wireless networks, and it was really interesting for me, as all of us state folks know how challenging it can be contracting with vendors, but hearing the personal experience of folks and some of the both successes and trials that they have with dealing with their contractors and vendors. So it's just a pleasure. I was there in my capacity as Deputy Director of Broadband and Digital Literacy, but also as the Department of Technology's travel liaison. And, I just want to echo, I believe, what Commissioner Houck said at the last time, that for PUC, for Department of Technology, for these departments that are, a number of our staff are working very closely to empower these communities, it would be a benefit for more of us to go and experience these travel broadband boot camps, to learn more about what it takes to develop these very small community last mile networks. So just wanted to share that with you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. I would like to open it up to the dais to see if you have any questions or comments. I first want to go to Commissioner Houck.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate again that, having been to one of these boot camps, it was tremendously beneficial and highly recommended. I know I've talked to our executive director about how we may want to look at trying to do something for our staff and CDT staff, even if it's an abridged version in one of our offices. But it was very valuable, both talking to the folks that have been on the ground creating these networks, as well as just kind of getting an idea firsthand of the tremendous amount of work that goes into it, from the folks that have to do the labor of putting the fiber in the ground and making sure the wires are there, and just getting that perspective, because I think sometimes when we're in our offices, we don't always understand what goes into all of that. So anyway, I just think it's great that you were able to go and experience that, and that you came away with sort of the same takes that I did.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Yarbrough.
Yeah, I think this is a great reminder to me, and I think to many people, that technology can be kind of intimidating. And I think one of the challenges to getting people onto the networks and being able to use them is building that confidence among the end user. And so these types of things, I think, are well worth the investment in time and energy to get people comfortable. Because, I think your point about laying fiber in a conduit is an abstract concept, but when you're putting your fingers on the technology and using it, you develop that confidence. And then you can figure out how that might serve you in your needs and endeavors as a person living their life. So I think that's a great thing to remind ourselves of. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McPeak.
Turn on my microphone. So thank you. I'm back at basics. I really want to commend you, Deputy Director Adams, for being out in the field. It's just, I know every time I do that, it's just, I always learn something. There's no substitute for that. So just, I want to echo, building on what Commissioner Houck and others have said. That's great that you were there.
Thank you, Ms. McPeak. I'd also like to make a comment. As we have heard from tribal leaders and specifically chairmen, as we think of digital equity, they talk about it really is the new sovereignty for them to be independent. And as this brings new jobs, it brings new skills, just all the things that are happening at this boot camp, teaching them how to take care of the network, build the network, and really makes digital equity not just availability, it's also just changing the opportunity that's available to them. So I just want to commend you, the work, and commend CPUC, because we can't do it without obviously you, and obviously the great relationships we have with Secretary Snyder Ashatari. She's amazing and as always opens the doors for us. So thank you very much, Mr. Adams, your work is making a difference. Thank you.
You know, I want to follow up one comment here. What is so amazing about the tribal broadband boot camps is the tone and the setup, because the first thing they say when you get there is everyone's a teacher and everyone's a student. And there are no dumb questions. And actually, they require that people who have already attended come back as instructors. And so on the very first day in the very first session, one of the young tribal members from a tribe in New Mexico actually taught me how to do crimping when she had learned how to do it at the last one. So there's really a pay it forward model. So it's not just to learn for yourself or your community, but to help teach others. And that's what was really fabulous about it.
Thank you. I would like to, I know we talked at the dais, I just want to make a quick check-in with the online members to see if anyone wants to make a comment there. I don't see any at this time, but we will get probably comments later on. So again, thank you, Mr. Adams. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. And this is Broadband for All Action Plan Review by, again, Mr. Adams.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's a pleasure to give a quick update on the status of the review and revision process after you had approved us going forward with this. Again, we've worked over the last several months with action plan items owners to check on any progress, see if there's a change in status, and see if there are any revisions that need to be done to the action plan. So next slide, please. In summary, we have established that 19 action items are complete. That's one more than last year. There are still 5 that are in progress or working towards completion. And we come to you and to the public to share 2 revisions that we have made, which were on action item number 2 and action item number 16. Next slide, please. So on action item number 2, which was really about the identification of state and federal funding, we made a slight revision to the language of this action item to include seeking government and philanthropic partners to not just maximize funding for infrastructure, but non-infrastructure deployment uses, given the wake of the termination of the federal digital equity funding. So that's one revision that we've made. Can we go to the next slide, please? On action item number 16, promote and track affordable service programs, we removed mention of the Affordable Connectivity Program because obviously that was terminated last year, and we've replaced it with the California Lifeline Broadband Pilot Program. And really eager to see the Broadband Council and the Get Connected mobilization to get behind that in much the same way that they did the promotion and enrollment assistance in the Affordable Connectivity Program. Next slide. And so one thing just wanted to make sure to point out for both the council and the members of the public is, in many ways, the term complete in status is a term of art. It's, was that action item complete in the letter of the broadband action plan? But still, we know that situations are fluid and dynamic. So even those action items that are complete are still monitored. There's still progress being made on those. So some of the highlights we wanted to bring back to you here on action item 6, permitting. We published the 3rd version of the local broadband permitting playbook. On action item number 8, Next Gen 911, the Office of Emergency Services published a transition plan in November of last year. Action item 12, obviously the Lifeline program. CPUC continues to make improvements along that, and you'll hear more about the status of the standalone broadband pilot. On action item number 14, leveraging state contracting and procurement vehicles, continue to leverage that extensively for both the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative and now on the Broadband for All and State Digital Equity Plan request for innovative ideas. Action 17, technical assistance. CPUC recently expanded their consortia account program eligibility to include California tribes, which is very significant and I think going to be a positive development. Action item number 18, establishing a digital inclusion stakeholder network. We've now grown our stakeholder entity list to over 12,000 plus. And those are folks that we communicate with on a fairly regular basis through our monthly email updates and our monthly meetings and communities of practice. Action item 19, the interactive broadband map. Deputy Director Ellis from the PUC reported last year that that is complete. And this is one of those things where it's complete in a sense that all serviceable locations are aligned with federal maps and practices, but still, the CPUC asked to clarify that this is something that is going to continue to be monitored and updated as needed. So while it's been complete, they're still being vigilant on updating that. And lastly, on action item number 12, or 21 rather, the Broadband for All portal, we continue to expand that site to include more tools, more resources, more information. Some of the big things that have occurred is the integration of the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative website into the Broadband for All portal, and also the enhancement and refreshing of our digital equity resource finder. And so I believe that is it for my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. Are there any questions or comments regarding the Broadband for All Action Plan update? All right, Ms. McPeak.
On one hand, I do apologize. I said earlier to Commissioner Houck, I was glad I wasn't on the agenda, could just listen, but then I listen and then I'm excited about what you're doing. And one of the comments you made, Mr. Adams, that I wanted to underscore is how important the new Lifeline home internet program is. Once again, California is leading. I am anxious to see all of the what happens in terms of all of the advice letters that I think are still due on Monday. A number of them have been submitted. There's some pretty significant providers that are stepping up. What I also think that offers is the tracking of what does it mean to be complete. And that is, as we're painfully aware, particularly with support from the Public Utilities Commission, of having just completed a grant to enroll 20,000 unconnected households in 2 years. And to do that required outreach and contact to 21.2 million households. And that is because we're trying to reach the increasingly poor, digitally disadvantaged folks who are not aware. They weren't aware of ACP. They've never been aware of Lifeline that's been in existence for 4 decades plus. They've never been aware of internet service providers. I mean, the data is there. And so going forward, per the 2023 statewide survey and the update we did among low-income households in 2024, all reported here, there's essentially 500,000 households who are either unconnected or underconnected with a smartphone only. So when the user, the subscriber, leaves the home with that mobile device, the home has no connection for any other purpose, right? I'm just underscoring how difficult it is to track and reach that smaller amount because actually of the success of California over last couple of decades, focused through Broadband for All with the governor's executive order. And that means finding out churn, what's happening as a net, how many people are actually still staying on an affordable offer that are subscribed through the internet service providers is going to be really essential in Lifeline. I'm confident that Director Osborne and the PUC understands that, but it's really not only a groundbreaking program, again, to have the surety in one state, regardless of what happens elsewhere, that we can get all low-income households online, but then tracking the net on how we get towards those 500,000 households. So that is what I do want to underscore, and we're anxious to see the implementation going forward on Lifeline.
Thank you, Ms. McPeak. I'm losing my voice. Is there any other members that have questions, comments?
I just wanted to correct one statement that I made when I referenced Maria Ellis from the PUC. I mentioned her title as Deputy Director, but it's Director.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. All right, the next agenda item we have is Deputy Director Mark Monroe, who's going to provide an update on the progress that is happening across this great state of ours in implementing 81,000 middle mile open access, the open access middle mile network, the largest in the nation. Mr. Adams, or not Mr. Monroe.
Yeah, I was going to say, to manage expectations, it's not 81,000. Love it, but I'm glad I'm not the only one who makes that kind of mistake. So, yes, my team's having a little panic attack. Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members. Mark Monroe, Deputy Director for the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative at CDT, here to provide a status update on our ongoing efforts to develop and begin operating the MMBI network. If you can jump to the next slide. Our goal continues to be to do everything possible to complete the network as quickly and efficiently as possible. Currently, over 60% of the network, or 5,275 miles of the network, has been permitted, with 2/3 or more than 5,100 miles of the network having gone to construction. And with fiber construction complete on over 40%, or 3,389 miles of the network. So given where we were in 2021, starting off building the largest network of its kind, there is reason to be pleased at the progress of the teams and our partners. However, as we shared at the MMAC last week, there is an increasing likelihood that completion of some construction will move beyond the calendar year 2026. Permitting has continued to be a greater challenge than originally anticipated, and the state continues to focus on mitigation and additional opportunities to streamline the process. Recognizing this challenge, CDT and Caltrans have taken a number of corrective steps to accelerate the permitting process. We have refined the network design to reduce reliance on state right-of-way where feasible, by identifying alternative routes to avoid some of the more complex segments in terms of permitting. We've also compressed construction timelines where we can do so safely and responsibly, coordinating amongst the contractors to maximize the efficiency. And we are continuing our weekly working sessions with our partners and Caltrans to move permit packages through the process as quickly as possible on both sides, improving application quality, resolving the issues earlier, and accelerating review and approval where appropriate. And I will note that these steps appear to be having a positive effect. Over the last 3 months of 2025, Caltrans was issuing an average of 75 miles of permits per month. So far in January, we see a similar rate of permitting. So that's certainly encouraging. I'd also note that our partners have expressed optimism that as they are able to get more miles permitted, the learning curve is expected to generate further increases in the number of miles permitted as we move forward. We are also continuing our close work with the CPUC to find ways to align the middle mile network with the timing of the federal funding account last mile grant recipients who plan to leverage the network. Our goal is that as FFA projects come online, they have a middle mile connection available and ready for them to use. As with other infrastructure projects of this size and complexity, we do anticipate that other challenges will arise, whether they be permitting, construction, HUTs, or electronics. But we will continue to meet any future challenges with the same focus and urgency to keep the project moving forward. On the operator front, our current effort to find an operator is on schedule with proposals due January 28th. We continue to stay focused on the fact that the project is about reaching people and communities. And the best way to demonstrate our steadfast commitment is to share these successes. Next slide. Real quick, here we can see again the progress the program has made on this project so far. Since last October's Broadband Council meeting, we have increased the amount of the project in installation by almost 800 miles. While there is still a lot of work to do, we can see here that active construction taking place across the state to reach tribal, rural, and urban communities that are dependent on the middle mile. The map shows how a full 2/3 of the network has gone to installation. And again, with more than 3,300 miles of fiber installed to date, we are continuing our efforts to complete this progress and connect these communities as quickly as possible. And we have continued to make significant progress since the program was created in 2021. Next slide. Well, CDT and its partners continue to explore all alternatives in order to continue expediting installation of fiber. It's really important that we also understand the final key project component, which is the hubs. Hubs are needed for any segment of the network to be operational. These include a hut to house the electronics that carry the broadband signal with an underground utility connection for power, as well as a backup generator and fuel tank to ensure power during outages. Once a site is selected, engineers must complete the design and CDT must secure environmental clearance, as well as approvals for right-of-way and from the state fire marshal. To date, all huts have been manufactured. The state has been collaborating with utility companies over the past 2 years and has begun pre-construction sessions to plan for inspection and ensure that all involved are aligned with construction when construction commences. Next is the construction phase, which also presents a unique set of challenges, starting with the development of the site. This site prep can vary and may include construction of utility connections to a site, excavation, retaining walls, or the rerouting of existing drainage systems. And finally, we reach the phase of electronics installation and testing once the power has been installed and is operational. The MMBN will require a total of 139 huts. Located approximately every 50 miles. 11 are part of Digital 395 and are currently installed and operational. 107 are being developed by Caltrans right-of-way, or on Caltrans right-of-way, and we are in active construction on 5 of these, with a construction on another 52 scheduled to start this quarter. And then 21 will be located on other public and private lands off Caltrans right-of-way, and our TPA, Golden State Net, is in the process of developing those. If you want to jump to the next slide. We're pretty excited about this. Our collective efforts over the past 4 years are showing tangible results for the communities that are at the heart of this historic initiative. In March, the Middle Mile Broadband Network will proudly serve the first community along Digital 395 route in a partnership with the Bishop Paiute tribe. More broadly, this route spans over 10,000 unserved and underserved households. Early on, CDT recognized the benefits of employing the use of existing infrastructure, such as the middle mile components of Digital 395, put in place by the California Broadband Cooperative. And so CDT was able to acquire its assets early on, these assets that were really would benefit the state's network. The state then invested in the existing infrastructure to bring it up to the same level of resiliency and performance as the rest of the network. By upgrading the huts and installing electronics consistent with the rest of the network. And so the results is that we are able to make these assets a vital component of California's broadband backbone. Our commitment to serving the unserved and the unserved communities is now becoming a reality. For the first time, households along this corridor will begin connecting to the internet through the state's middle mile network as early as this next March. It's an exciting moment for us, and especially for the communities being served. And so I want to thank everyone that's contributed to reaching this major milestone. If you want to jump to the next slide. Real quick here, as noted previously, as we look towards starting to operate the network, GSN, our Golden State Net, is in the process of generating interest with its marketing and sales work. The work is vital to developing a network that is financially sustainable. GSN reports that it has about 30 opportunities quoted out to the marketplace currently, representing $310 million in potential opportunities. And these are in addition to the work that the CDT is doing with CPUC and the FFA awardees. Next slide. Lastly, you can see here in the timeline, this is a timeline we have been and will continue to do the fiber sales I just mentioned. And the revenue pipeline on the previous slide is the result of the effort of our TPA GSN is making. As you know, the RFP for the operator closes next week. Between that time and April of this year, we will be reviewing the proposals and we receive, and we will be making a selection by the end of April. At which point we will start operationalizing the network, setting the segments as they are completed and ready to connect. And then if we jump to the next slide, just I'll finally note here that we want to remind everyone of the quarterly stakeholder engagements CDT holds. CDT will be holding its first quarterly stakeholder engagement meeting for the year on January 31st. These sessions are designed specifically for stakeholders and partners to ask questions and receive project updates. And you can you can contact us at CDT regarding virtual participation of the email link posted here. And that ends my MMBI update.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Excellent progress. I'd like to open it up to the dais to see if anyone has questions or comments. Commissioner Houck.
Thank you. I just wanted to just really echo what Mr. Monroe said about seeing the digital 399 and the connections becoming a reality. One of the first trips I did as a commissioner was to take a trip down 399 to visit communities that were not connected and needed broadband, and the Bishop Paiute tribe was one of the places that we visited. And they were a recipient of our Tribal Technical Assistance Grant, and just listening to their story about not being able to get connected and now seeing this a reality and it's for all of those communities on the 399 is just really great to see that happening, going from where it was just a few years ago to where we are now is just, I think, something we should all be really proud of. So I just wanted to echo those sentiments.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, Ms. McPeak.
But I'll be the last. If there's anybody else, I'll be last. Okay, I do want to just commend you, Madam Chair, as Director, and Chief Deputy Director Johnson, and Mr. Monroe and his team for the tremendous progress. The California Emerging Technology Fund actually has one of our founding directors who always attends the Middle Mile Advisory Committee meetings and reports back to our board of directors. So I got that report last Friday from Mr. Mata, Rich Mata. And I'm also, very appreciative of the intense effort and coordination that not only your department, but with Deputy Secretary Hacker, who's on board, who's here at this meeting, on behalf of Secretary Omashakin, has worked diligently with Caltrans. It takes an intense amount of effort to make this all happen. And so when I look at 395, having been there when it was originally built, when we were all in a celebration in Mono many years ago, in Ridgecrest is a hospital. And that hospital does do remote reading, for example, of x-rays. they cannot optimize telehealth without taking. Now, they've actually had relatively good connectivity now since 395 was finished, but being able to get that whole segment operative in order to help other community clinics along that alignment, and then be connected to medical centers, particularly for specialty care and real-time reading of whatever are the diagnostics, including x-rays, is very, very important. And one of the newest, I think, accomplishments by the state is the legislature passed legislation, and Governor Newsom signed into law since we last met, the telehealth for all policy. That says we're going to optimize the use of telehealth to improve patient outcomes and overall population health. That cannot happen without a robust infrastructure, high-speed internet that connects all the providers, particularly those of medically underserved communities, which happen to be the same that are digitally disadvantaged, including all the tribal lands, to our best care experts. And no matter how much I had at the Diversio Vasquez Health Center when I was running it, no way could I have ever hired a cardiologist or an oncologist. I thought I was doing really well to get my first specialty physician hired a number of years ago, who was a pediatrician, which is great. And they really expanded family care, but not to have access to the best care in California and do it efficiently is also really sad. But the governor and the legislature have now given another reason why this is imperative, all back to, yes, you have to have the middle mile. Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Thank you for your leadership and everybody who's pulled together. And I do think it has made such a huge difference to have the governor's office and their team directly involved in ensuring that you have the authority, the support to move forward.
Thank you, Ms. McPeak. We were at the Middle Mile Advisory Committee, we were lucky enough to have the chairman of the Bishop Paiute tribe here, and they did talk about exactly what you were saying about the significant amount of miles that individuals will have to drive today without this level of connectivity. So, when we talk about digital equity, we have to understand the importance of what it's doing within these communities. It's not just the connection point, it's what it brings as a part of a service. So thank you for continuing to remind us it's about the people. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the dais? I do see Jeff Balo.
Morning, thank you. I'm filling in for Deputy Superintendent Nicely, who's a member. I know she had some comments and questions. Would it be best for her to reach out to you, Mr. Monroe, or to Director Bailey Crimmins, because she wanted to ask questions, but she's not here, so would it be better? Who would be best for her to follow up with relating to Middle Mile?
You could have her follow up with me.
Okay, perfect. I will have her do that. Thank you so much.
All right, very good.
All right. Thank you very much. We will go to the next agenda item, and we are introducing Commissioner Darcy Houck to give us an update on the California Public Utilities Commission last mile efforts.
Okay. Thank you, and bear with me. We've done a lot since the last meeting, so next slide, please. So first, I just, following on the presentation regarding the middle mile, before I dive into the last mile comments and updates, I'd like to just take a few moments to call out just the importance of the middle mile effort here in California for our broadband for all goals. In order to achieve broadband for all, multiple agencies, as was described by Ms. McPeak, organizations, individuals have really contributed to this significant effort, and just really commend the dedication to achieve this monumental milestone. And it really is. It's been a game changer, as we've just heard, for many communities, and the number of miles that have been going into the ground and how quickly is just really commendable. And with the new awards made in our round 2 of the federal funding account, which I'm going to talk about in more detail, we're up to 64 of 122 federal funding account project grantees that have indicated to us that they are going to likely interconnect with the statewide middle mile. That's a huge number of folks. And most of these grantees using the middle mile tend to be local and regional ISPs, local governments, tribal governments, and this is one way that the middle mile is really transforming the market. And so we're seeing more access, more providers, and that's good for California. So I just wanted to comment on that, and then just note that this slide has some pictures of our partners, your partners gathering together in 2025 to commemorate groundbreaking activities for middle mile projects. There's CPUC, CDT staff with the providers there. I won't go in. These were in, I think, Willits and Sacramento are where the pictures are from. So just really wanted to take a moment to just recognize how transformational the middle mile efforts have been. Next slide, please. So our last mile programs are listed here on this slide. The PUC's mission is to deliver programs that fund deployable, safe, reliable, and affordable broadband services across California, especially to communities that have lacked this essential service. And so this table provides a overview of the broadband-related programs that we oversee, including our multi-year last mile SB 156 programs. So we have the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, or BEAD, as the first line item here. And again, that's a $1.86 billion federal program from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that's being implemented by the Federal National Telecommunications and Information Administration, or NTIA. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the broadband or the BEAD program in more details regarding our final proposal in a slide a little bit later. But I did want to note that we did submit our final proposal to NTIA. And again, we'll be talking about that a little more in a later slide. Next up, we've got the California Advanced Services Fund, or CASF, suite of broadband grants. And so you see here that's $136 million for 2025. This is supported by surcharges that are paid by active access lines in California. That's a $1.11 that's collected from every active access line. The CASF program consists of 6 programs under its banner, supporting a range of community broadband needs, from technical assistance to infrastructure and grants supporting broadband adoption. The CASF Broadband Infrastructure Grant application window closed on October 31st of last year, and the CPUC received 41 applications requesting approximately $424 million in funding. So I just want to underscore the large amount of need is in that area, and the number of grants for the amount of money requested. And those grants would provide access to over 18,000 households, that what we received in the applications, but we don't have $424 million to fund all of those projects. So just keeping that in mind, that there's still a need. Applicants' project summaries and proposed project area maps are posted on our grant website, so please take a look at our website if you'd like further information. The first grant application cycle deadline of this year for the broadband application, for the broadband adoption account, the broadband public housing account, and the tribal technical assistance was January 1st. And upcoming deadlines include April 1 for tribal technical assistance and July 1 for broadband public housing and adoption accounts. We're also soliciting feedback from tribes on the creation of tribal consortia, which I think was mentioned by Mr. Adams, Deputy Director Adams. This is the first for the commission. We approved a decision last year creating tribal consortias, and we're looking to hold some regional workshops to meet with tribes and looking at what these consortia should look like, and make sure that they're created in a way that will adequately serve the needs of California's tribal communities. We also have, if you haven't signed up for information and want information, we really encourage you to go to our website and sign up for updates for the CASF program, and you can get information about the grant programs and other events that we'll be doing through CASF. So moving on to the Loan Loss Reserve Program, California's $50 million Broadband Loan Loss Reserve Fund expands the ability of local nonprofit and tribal governments to finance broadband projects with an emphasis on public broadband networks. We approved Resolution T17895 last November, which authorized the Golden State Connect Authority to use a credit enhancement for the $50 million from the Broadband Loan Loss Reserve commitment for up to $120 million offering at a maximum rate of 7% for the telecommunications revenue bonds series in 2025. Due to a number of issues, that credit enhancement was not utilized for that issuance, but we'll have more information about that program at our next meeting. And next, we have our FFA account. This program supports reliable last-mile broadband infrastructure in every county of the state. It's a multi-year funding program of approximately $2 billion and represents comprehensive one-time investments implementing the vision of broadband for all. We held 2 rounds of applications, one of which made awards to 52 counties in 2024 and 2025, and the second finished making awards to the remaining 6 counties at our voting meeting last week. So I'll discuss these grants in more detail later in my presentation, and I just wanted to note that there could be future application rounds and grant awards if the approximately $550 million in funds remaining from the overall $2 billion that we had is appropriated for 27 and 28 fiscal years. So there's still a pot of money that is hopefully going to be available to move forward with further expansion of our last mile programs. Next slide, please. So now I want to talk a little bit more detail about the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, or BEAD program. So as many of you recall, NTIA made some very substantive policy changes to the program in June of last year. This required some very significant changes to how the program was made, and states were required to act very quickly to re-examine their proposals. So after 2 years of work by states, these original proposals needed to be shifted, and what the PUC did was we revised the BEAD program in response, and I really want to commend our staff for the lightning speed. They were able to do a tremendous amount of work to ensure that California was able to continue to receive its allocation of this funding. So just really want to recognize our excellent team. They conducted 2 benefit of the bargain rounds to solicit additional applications and held extensive negotiations with applicants to reach more unserved locations at a lower cost in a very short amount of time, just a few weeks. We voted out the approval of California's BEAD final proposal on December 18th of 2025, just a few weeks ago. That was Resolution T17898. And our final proposal was submitted to NTAI the following day, December 19th. The final proposal is approved by the NTAI. If approved by the NTAI, they recommend these recommended awards have the potential to reach, if it's approved, 338,000 locations, which is more than any other state. And we propose coverage in 100% of BEAD eligible locations. These significant outcomes, along with some additional outcomes, are listed on the bottom right of this slide. So we achieved 100% coverage of BEAD eligible locations. Again, we reached more than any other state, 338,000. We increased efficiency, maximized the state's allocation for deployment, and prioritized projects were maximized. I don't think we got quite as many fiber projects as we had hoped based on the changes to the program. that's something folks can look at if they go to our website. Currently, we're complying with NTAI's curing request, which are mostly related to the highest cost locations in the proposal, which ironically are satellite locations. And so we're going to be moving forward with continuing our work with NTAI on curing. And to see the final proposal, the list of proposed BEAD subgrantees, the maps, and more, we invite you to visit our website, and you can sign up for updates as well. And when we come back at our next meeting, I will hopefully be able to provide another update, and we'll hopefully be through that curing process and moving forward with issuance of our subgrantee proposals to help expand broadband through the BEAD program. Next slide. So our last mile programs, our federal funding account, with the goal of funding last mile broadband wireline infrastructure in all 58 counties in the state. The PUC, again, as I mentioned earlier, opened a round 2 grant window that was limited to the 6 counties that are shown on this map in white, that had not yet been awarded FFA grants in the first round. And again, it was limited to the 6 counties. That was, there were 72 applications from 21 entities requesting $600 million in grant funding, and 5+ applications in all 6 counties without round 1 awards. So we adopted Resolution T17896, which was approved on December 18th. It awarded 5 grants for $96 million in 3 counties, Calaveras, Orange, and Los Angeles, and it benefits 14,992 Californians and provides service to 4,587 unserved locations. We approved Resolution T1790 on January 15th, which awarded 4 grants for $21 million in 3 counties, Contra Costa, Inyo, and Monterey counties, and it will benefit 64,296 Californians and provide service to 1,742 unserved locations. Since the last meeting, again, staff has done a tremendous amount of work to get these grants through, and I just want to say, if you want further information on our FFA program, again, I encourage folks to look at our website. Future FFA application rounds and grant awards are again going to depend on the approximately $550 million in remaining funds from the overall total $2 billion being appropriated for 27-28 fiscal year. And with that, I will ask you to go to the next slide. So just want to have sort of a spotlight here on some of our last mile grantees. This is the city of Gustine in Merced County, which has made amazing progress deploying infrastructure with its FFA grant of approximately $4.8 million. And the city of we're pleased to share that the central office here, as well as its 37 miles of buried conduit and fiber, were completed in December of 2025. So that is a great accomplishment. And the next steps are listed along the bottom of the slide here. The city is well on its way to meet its goals of installing fiber to every home, business, and anchor institution in the city, which is their goal. So again, it's going to benefit roughly 6,500 Californians, and they oversized fiber cables by 25% to account for future growth. And so we just really want to congratulate the city of Gustine and all of our partners that work to make this project work. Next slide, please. So outside of our programs, there's 2 additional things I wanted to touch on. At our last meeting of the year, we voted out our last meeting, the first meeting this year, our last meeting before this meeting, the Verizon Frontier merger, which was approved by the commission. So I just want to summarize some real achievements here. We adopted settlements between the applicants and Cal Advocates, settlement between the applicant and California Emerging Technologies Fund, and a settlement with the Communications Workers of America. And then we want to note that we did receive letters of support from the Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians, who initially opposed the application, but by the time we got to what was proposed in the final decision was in strong support. So major conditions in the settlement included it requires build out of fiber and cell towers benefiting over 75,000 unserved locations. It lays out a path for build out to 88 additional Frontier Wire centers through applications from state and federal grants as set forth in ordering paragraph 2 of the decision. It sets a high bar on affordability and requires Verizon to promote Lifeline broadband pilots, making Verizon broadband plans free for low-income Californians. And it provides the applicants here committed to $500 million on diverse suppliers in California and $40 million on our digital equity ecosystem and $10 million for workforce training programs with California State University. And so I really believe, as I said, when we voted this out, this is in the benefit of Californians, and it is going to add and significantly contribute to our broadband for all goals. So I just wanted to note that. Next slide, please. And this slide is on our Lifeline program. I'm not going to go into detail because we're going to hear from Director Rob Osborne in just a minute, and I want him to be able to walk through the program, but I did want to recognize all of the work that our staff, folks, partnership, we worked with CDT, we worked with CETF partners, the providers in looking at how we can better enhance our Lifeline program, as it's critically important given what we're seeing at the federal level. It's even more important that we've got a program that's going to work for Californians. So just want to commend everyone that has assisted in getting us to the point that we are, and you're going to hear more about that from Rob in just a moment. And I think that is my last slide. Okay, so thanks for your patience.
Thank you, Commissioner Houck. I just, again, want to commend when we think about Broadband for All and the action plan and all of the different components on the broadband, the middle mile, the last mile, the programs, as we hear the services that are going to be rendered, affordability and literacy, it all has to come together in order to serve those communities. And you are such a vital part. Every time I go out and am in the communities, they just continue to commend CPUC and everything that you guys are doing and outreach, even with the shifting of the federal priorities in some cases as certain programs have sunset, or you are standing up for California. President Reynolds is stepping up for California, Director Osborne, and making sure that timeliness and as things shift, you are immediately jumping into action to make sure California gets the most of what it deserves. So I just want to commend you. I know you always giving compliments is always, but I just want to make sure you know how much we really appreciate your leadership in making this all happen. So thank you so much from us on the committee, and I would love to open it up for any other council members to be able to speak. Ms. Papeek.
Madam Chair, I simply do want to join you in commending Commissioner Houck and the Commission in many of these actions and the approval of the Verizon acquisition of Frontier so that Frontier remains a viable provider in California. I was really pleased to see the involvement of the Chumash in this proceeding, given that more years ago than I want to recall, when I was a student at UC Santa Barbara, the chairman of the Chumash at that time, Ed Olivas, was one of my first mentors. So I spent a lot of years working on that reservation, so it's very good to see their involvement. I do have a question, and that goes back to the California Advanced Services Fund and the infrastructure grant account and the number of applications that have been submitted. And you can only fund some of them because of that amount of funding. And I want to note before asking the question, that when Senator Gonzalez actually in 2021 got the authority, increased from 66 million to 150 million to be collected and deposited into the California Advanced Services Fund, at that 150 million level annually, that is still half of what used to be collected into the high cost B fund in 2008 when the PUC established the California Advanced Services Fund. So CASF is unique in the entire country. There's only one state that has such a pot of money, that's California. And so I note that there's capacity in looking just in the rear view mirror about all of the consumer relief that the commission has provided to think about the future so we can get those last mile projects done, and it will be cheaper to do it now than in the future, generally. So my question is, do we have an update on the number of access lines now in California? The last report I'm aware of was made by Mr. Osborne and his team. That was at the end of 2024, and that was 52.5 million access lines. I'm just wondering if we have an update on the number of access lines in California.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Osborne, but if we don't, I can meet with our staff and we can come back with some additional information at the next one. But I don't know, Rob, if you have.
Yeah, we can provide that. Yeah, I don't have the number with me right now. Happy to provide that, though.
Thank you. It's one of those variables that has, over the decade, continue to grow. I just don't know if it is going to continue to grow, but it's something also for us to keep in mind and think about where we can get some additional resources. Again, there is a limit that the legislature has on what goes into CASF out of all of the universal service funds that have been now supported into one access line fee that is 90 cents a month. I used to pay personally $3 a month into all of those funds when I was just a landline customer before the immense reform that went into effect in April 2023. It's the greatest democratization of any revenue source I've seen in the 4 decades I have been in this business. So I continue to remind everybody it is a great deal that the PUC actually implemented. And if the number of access lines continue to grow, we have opportunity for either more revenue and or more consumer relief or both. And so that's why I'm asking.
Thank you, Ms. McPeak. It sounds like Director Osborne will take that as an action item and get back to you on that. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Anyone online? The council members? All right, I don't see any. So thank you again, Commissioner Houck. We are going to go ahead and pivot to the next agenda item, which is Director Robert Osborne, who is going to give an update on adoption/affordability.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair and council members. I'm Rob Osborne, Director of Broadband Consumer Programs and Carrier Oversight at the California Public Utilities Commission. For many Californians, home internet is a part of everyday life. It's how students finish homework. It's how parents communicate with schools, how people apply for jobs, and how families stay connected to healthcare and to loved ones. But for households on limited incomes, paying for internet each month can be a challenge. So to help address that need, the California Public Utilities Commission in August last year approved a home broadband pilot through the Lifeline program, and that's designed to make home internet more affordable for eligible Californians. Yeah, we'll stay on this slide, thank you. This pilot evolved out of a series of multi-party conversations sponsored by CETF beginning at the end of 2024 in an attempt to find a state solution for income-qualified Californian households to afford home internet service following the end of the Affordable Connectivity Program, which was a federal program that provided $30 a month for internet service. At its peak, that program provided or had about 2.9 million households enrolled in California. It's roughly 50% of eligible households. Coming out of the Affordable Connectivity Program, we asked ourselves how we could craft a subsidy that improved on lessons learned with an aim to maximize value for both California ratepayers and for program participants. So as the slide shows, the pilot is a 3-year voluntary technology-neutral pilot providing subsidy for either standalone broadband or bundled broadband voice service that allows eligible consumers to apply for a California Lifeline subsidy to any internet plan that meets the minimum service standards. And that's a key point, any internet plan, similar to the ACP. The pilot will be ready for participants to apply beginning next Monday on the 26th. One of the lessons learned from the ACP is the importance of setting minimum service standards. So we set a minimum service standard of speeds of 100 down, 20 up minimum with a monthly usage allowance of 1,280 gigabytes per month, and that's a minimum. There's 2 exceptions to that. Areas where 100 down and 20 up is not feasible, and for income-qualified low-cost plans that were already in existence prior to this pilot being launched, or the decision being made, sorry. Like the ACP, the California Lifeline has a specific subsidy amount. In this case, it's $20 for standalone broadband and $30 for broadband service that's bundled with a wireline or wireless voice service through the same provider. Next slide, please. So eligibility is the same as for California Lifeline, requires applicants to meet either program-based eligibility or income-based eligibility. On the program eligibility side, the largest ones are Medi-Cal and CalFresh. They account for nearly all of the program-based eligibility. Also, there's other programs that are listed on the Lifeline site, Women, Infant, and Children, WIC, and there's other qualified programs. The income-based programs are set at 150% of the federal poverty guideline, and we have a table on that slide for reference. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So program goals, I alluded to some of this earlier. The goals are first to provide eligible low-income families with essential access to broadband services, to increase participation in the Lifeline program, and to achieve provider participation rates comparable to those in the ACP. Some key milestones. So as I mentioned earlier, the pilot launch date is next Monday for California Lifeline service providers. And those are providers that have a commission-issued Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, otherwise known as a CPCN, or a wireless ID registration, a WIR. Later this quarter, we'll be issuing guidance for non-CPCN and non-WIR holders, basically creating a pathway for tribes and public entities to register and participate in the program. Next slide, please. So when the commission approved the home broadband pilot last August, we didn't know if any providers would show any interest. We're excited now to be working with 11 ISPs. We have 2 that we've approved already, Ducor and Sierra. Those will be ready next Monday. We have 9 that are pending, including Comcast, Charter FiberLink, Time Warner Cable, Bright House Network, Calaveras, Forest Hill, Kerman, Ranch Wi-Fi, and Pinnacles Telephone. And those will be going online over the next few weeks as we go through the approval process of their applications. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. I'd like to open it up to any of the members that might have questions or comments. Ms. McPeak.
I'll go last.
You'll go last. Okay. First would be, wonderful to see you, Ms. Nicely. We'll go ahead and call on you first.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Rob, for that presentation. I just want to make sure that you have CDE support to help in marketing and reaching out to our school communities to be able to market and make sure that people are aware of these the ongoing Lifeline support. So I just wanted to let you know that we are all in to help in any way that we can to ensure that we get everyone signed up and able to take advantage of the ongoing program like we did with the ACP.
Thank you, Ms. Nicely. We have Mr. Chisholm online, and then after that, we have Mr. Yarbrough.
Thank you, Chair Bailey Crimmins. I just wanted to sort of piggyback on what Ms. Nicely referenced and just say that the State Library is happy to work with you as well to make sure that local libraries have materials and directions to point people to these programs. We did a lot of work with Ms. McPeak back when the Affordable Connectivity Program was active, and we'd be happy to dust off those playbooks and help you out at this time as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. Mr. Yarbrough.
Thank you. So with pilot projects like this, I'm always curious as to how we can evaluate the effectiveness of the pilot project, particularly because if this type of subsidy arrangement drives more people to log on, then it starts to make an argument of how we can partner with the providers, because it would be in their best interest as well. The entire community benefits. And so if we can quantify in some way how a project like this actually moves the needle in terms of access points at the end user level, then I think we can start to make arguments that expand programs like this in ways that would be beneficial, not just to providing to a community here or there, but across the board in ways that everybody can benefit from. So I'd be interested to hear the findings at the end of the pilot project. Thank you.
If I could just add on, we are working very closely with the ISPs to gather data on a recurring basis so that we can evaluate as we go how the program is going, how people are using the service, what sort of plans they're signing up for, to evaluate the effectiveness of the subsidy. And certainly we'll be providing updates on an ongoing basis.
Thank you for the questions. Ms. McPeak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thank you very much, Rob, for that report, and I appreciate you acknowledging again all of the effort that the California Emerging Technology Fund brought to the table didn't quite succeed. I also want to acknowledge how we got there, because there were others that led the way, and it was actually Governor Newsom's office who suggested the home broadband lifeline solution at the end of 2024. It was because there had been other legislators who had continued to focus on affordability. Eduardo Garcia carried the first legislation for us beginning in 2021, coming out of the pandemic when we knew something had to happen. That was then carried on by Assemblymember Lori Wilson, and it was Lori's bill that actually at the end of 2024 that Governor Newsom's proposal got dropped into. Unfortunately, there was a tremendous amount of opposition and no consensus, and as much as all of us worked to the very last moment of that session, we had to sort of give up and then come back. It was with the counsel of the governor's office that we, CETF, continue to work on this, and with the cooperation of Assemblymember Wilson, working with Senator DeRosso, they agreed that they would have an approach on Lifeline in the legislature. And so, I mean, we would not be there, and we're just dumb enough to continue to staff it. I do want to acknowledge my colleague, Kyle, who doesn't fall into my category of being too dumb to give up, but who every Friday, literally for 7 weeks, every Friday, 2 hours in the afternoon, more than 50 stakeholders attended. Mr. Osborne and his team were there for those 2 hours. Commissioner Houck, you had your advisor there the entire time. California Department of Technology. I mean, it was an amazing effort. Unfortunately, in the end, when we had to get legislation introduced, we still did not have the support of industry. What we did is actually, or Senator DeRosso did, is introduce what Cal Advocates, TURN, and C4AT and CETF recommended, which was to go with the standards that are currently in now the pilot. Senate Bill 716, moved by Senator DeRosa, made its way all the way through the legislature. It sits today on the Assembly floor. It is a tremendous vehicle for this administration to think about in order to ensure you have everything you need to sustain this program. So A, I want to say that. B, the pilot that you have now put in place is where we started with the legislation and is much better than what the legislation ended up to be. As the sponsor of that bill, we have told everybody, no way, no how are we going to advise the author to move that bill that has some fatal flaws in it. So I want to say that publicly in this arena. I've said it several other places. I just want to underscore that. What I also think, I mean, it's very exciting with the number of providers that have now stepped forward, that the dam is broke. We're going to see a lot of participation. What Mr. Chisholm said, Ms. Nicely, about helping, I just want to say that's so welcome, because today, less than 30% of all of the people who are qualified were qualified for ACP, or qualified for the new Lifeline program, or qualified for Lifeline that has been in place for 40 decades. Less than 30% are aware it's available. It's an awareness issue, not just an implementation issue now. And if you don't have authority, for example, to do some public advertising to augment what the companies do, then 716 is there available, number one. That's just one example. Chair Berner in the Assembly is really focused on affordability. We still don't have agreement after even the hearing last week on affordability, how to move forward. But to you at the Public Utilities Commission and in the administration, it's an opportunity. I'm not sure where all of this goes, but with digital ID, with the registration you're doing. And lastly, you mentioned Medi-Cal and CalFresh. We in California, again, did something during ACP that no other state did. And we were hired or engaged by the Pew Charitable Trust to look at all 50 states as to what happened with ACP and why were enrollment rates higher in some states. In the end, California was number 3 among the states, and we had a huge increase, or many more people who are eligible. So as an example, to get 1% increase in eligible enrollment in California, we had to get 59,000 households enrolled. New York had to get 31,000 households, and Michigan had to get 16,000. The reason that we enrolled 1 million more households than any other state is the Department of Healthcare Services and the Department of Social Services notified everybody on Medi-Cal and CalFresh, and they continue to do so repeatedly over and over again. And that's, again, huge. So I want to acknowledge, we appreciate being a partner. As Mr. Adams said and reminded all of us, we still have number 16 on the action plan, and we're referenced there by the governor and the governor's action plan, you know, go out and get everybody online. So we take that very seriously. We also know we need to support your leadership, and we want to figure out how to use that remaining vehicle that sits on the Assembly floor if you need any additional legislative authority.
Thank you, Ms. McPeak. Is there any other questions or comments regarding Mr. Osborne's great presentation? All right, I don't see any. Thank you very much for the update. That was wonderful. We're going to go ahead and shift to back to Deputy Director Adams, who's going to provide an update on the digital equity plan.
Thank you, Chair. Bailey Cremens, good to be back, and I'll be brief. I know we've got more online with our community spotlight folks, but really pleased to come back. At the last meeting, we talked about California's continuing and enduring commitment to digital equity, and so we've done a lot of work to determine how we can continue to implement as much of the digital equity plan without being dependent on any one funding stream. So I wanted to give you guys a quick update. Could you advance to the next slide, please? And so our, I guess, short and medium term go-forward plan is really to focus on partner and stakeholder engagement. Really, the digital equity plan acknowledges that collaboration, coordination, and alignment are critical in a resource-scarce environment to make sure we're, maximizing our resources and increasing efficiency. Really, one of the main vehicles is going to be the digital equity community of practice that we'll conduct monthly with the partners that we've been convening with over the last several years. The second piece is developing or procuring tools and resources to support our ecosystem partners. That includes, things like our digital equity resource survey and developing our digital equity resource finder. And the third piece is really to continue to leverage existing and expand new partnerships. And we're currently doing that through a recently launched Request for Innovative Ideas, or an RFI squared, as it's otherwise known. Can we go to the next slide, please? Wanted to share some information. Since our last meeting, we did launch a digital equity resource survey. Part of that was to help expand our state asset map within the digital equity ecosystem, but we also wanted to really get a pulse of what was going on out in the ecosystem given the contraction of federal funding. And we know some organizations have been impacted by it, but really heartened to see that we received 188 responses from organizations across the state that are still providing digital equity, either resources and services, because we were attempting to get more granular information to support residents and organizations. That 188 responses totals about 786 locations where folks can actually go and receive either resources and services to support them. Another number that I would point out is that when you look at the responses by organization, it's both heartening and no surprise that libraries were the top locations at 508, because we know how committed the library systems are to providing those services. Next slide, please. I think we wanted to give you another look at the sort of the map of responses by county and locations by county. The lighter shades are where there are fewer resources. The darker shades are where there are more. I think the positive thing is there's a number of entities that are providing statewide resources, mostly digital groups like CETF, like Everyone On, Human IT. So each county is well represented, at least up to 30 resources or entities, but you can see there's some strong participation and mapping in the areas where, systems like state government or local governments and libraries. We had a tremendous partnership with Los Angeles County there through the Department of Intergovernmental Services and the libraries in the school district. So what's important about this information for us here is, if you go to the next slide, please, we're going to use the data that we've acquired to refresh the digital equity resource finder that we have up on the broadband portal. And it was really due to a lot of focus groups and information and feedback from partners and stakeholders that we put out the new survey. And it's one tool, but we're giving you two looks. We've been asked to, number one, provide an option for residents to find resources that are relevant and applicable to them, which is on the left side, and you can search by county and by type of service. And then on the right side, you'll see how the view changes when you say I'm a digital inclusion organization. There's a different set of services people have identified, like collective action or grant writing, information sharing, mutual aid, those kind of things. So this is one of the things we're doing to continue to support the ecosystem. Next slide, please. I want to tell you a little bit about the Request for Innovative Ideas. I think we may have mentioned it the last meeting. As you know, it's a quite a unique procurement vehicle for here in the state. It allows you to be more flexible, et cetera. And so, you develop a problem statement and challenges therein. So we developed this, worked with our procurement team, put it out around basically one large problem statement is how do we implement this digital equity plan with the termination of both the digital equity capacity and competitive grants. And so we have 7 challenges around promoting and tracking low-cost offers, which is directly tied to the action plan, digital literacy and skills platform, which is tied to the STEP, digital navigation, training and services, devices and statewide device ecosystem, annual survey to help us track data and progress, online educational and resource development, and collective funding action. So here in California, we're lucky. We have the California Advanced Service Fund broadband adoption account. So, we weren't 100% dependent on federal funding. We're also incredibly heartened by the merger commitments from the Verizon Frontier merger. There's a tremendous amount of resources that we really are pleased as a council to be able to track and partner with CETF as they implement that. But there's still a lot of need, and what our partners had asked, what the ecosystem partners had asked is that instead of going and knocking on doors individually, could we collectively take action and seek new funding sources through philanthropy and private sector? So that's one of the other challenges we put in the request for innovative ideas. The one thing that I will say is it was launched on January 5th. It was supposed to have closed today, but we've got a lot of response and interest, and we're going to extend the deadline another week to the end of next week. And concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Again, great progress across the equity plan and ensuring that it's updated, and great response across the entire state. It shows that it resonates with everyone, that it shows where we want to make progress, and there's targeted measurements in that equity plan of how we as a council and we as California want to make progress in those specific vulnerable populations. So thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the dais. Is there any questions or comments? Any online? All right, Commissioner Hauk.
Just really appreciate the continued work on this issue. I know it's been really challenging given what we're dealing with at the federal level. So just appreciate all of the continued work on this important issue.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the next item. Thank you, Mr. Adams. The next on the agenda is, again, the spotlights. First up is our member spotlight. I'd like to welcome, who's participating online, our Broadband Opportunity Program Manager, Josh Chisholm, who's going to share the excellent work that's happening at the California State Lottery. Mr. Chisholm.
Thank you, Chair Billy Crimmins and fellow council members. Again, my name is Josh. I've been managing the broadband programs at the State Library since 2022. The program has existed since 2014, roughly. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is just a quick overview of what I'll be talking about. Overview of the program. We're going to spotlight one of our members and the really excellent project that they were able to do with the support of the State Library. I'm going to highlight our ebook program, which really shows our commitment to the Broadband for All goals and getting digital access out to all citizens of California. And then I'll end with a couple of comments about some challenges that libraries are facing as we move forward and look at how we can continue to support them. Next slide. So again, the program's been running for about 12 years now. It's funded via the state legislature. A lot of what the State Library does for local libraries is via grants and support programs. Some of that money comes from the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, which is a federal
department, and the rest comes from the state budget. The broadband program is funded entirely by the state budget. About $4.3 million a year right now. It goes up a little bit each year. And the core of the program is member libraries, when they sign up, are able to connect to the California Research and Education Network, which is managed by the CNIC Corporation, the nonprofit backbone connecting the UCs, CSUs, community colleges, K-12, and public libraries and some other anchor institutions around the state. Robust, high speed. It's a fabulous service. And by signing up, the members get a connection to CNIC. They receive E-rate and CTF support. So E-rate is a federal program that provides discounts on telecommunication services. The California Teleconnect Fund, managed by our friends at the CPUC, piggybacks on that and provides an additional discount. So between those two programs, members will save on the cost of those circuits, connecting them back to CNIC and to the internet, an average of probably 85%. So they're looking at 15 cents on the dollar is what they're paying out of their local budget to connect to CNIC and have that infrastructure available to them. It is obviously a voluntary program. We at the state library, we have no authority over the local libraries. We can just support them, and they can choose whether or not to connect. Currently, we have 155 out of the 186 jurisdictions in the state connected, and we're benefiting about 975 locations out of the over 1,100 local libraries that serve the citizens of California. You can see on the map, we got a lot of locations out there. In addition to this basic support, getting libraries connected to this nonprofit high-speed internet backbone, we also provide equipment grants, and this is batches of one-time money we get from the state to support libraries with the costs other than just those monthly charges. Obviously, when a library signs up, there's one-time non-recurring costs to get them connected to a fiber circuit. And a lot of times those libraries do not have the infrastructure in place to really benefit from that circuit. So we've provided grants to support them on the cost of those core switches, but also just all of the infrastructure for their data closet, wireless access points, all the things they need to actually deploy that broadband for their employees and obviously for their patrons and citizens of their communities. So we've done over $10 million in equipment grants in the last 10 years. And obviously this all correlates with goals 1 and 3 of the Broadband for All plan, both getting high-speed internet to libraries and also providing digital access to our communities. Next slide, please. So impacts for the libraries, obviously, in times of uncertain budgets, the savings is pretty significant, but it also just allows them to support their patrons in a more robust way, allowing people to come in and get online and not have problems with using their mobile devices, getting fast, reliable internet. So people that are job seekers, small businesses needing to file forms online, people doing workforce retraining. Right now, there's obviously a lot of people interested in learning more about AI, and there are libraries all over the state providing these services using the infrastructure that we've been able to support them with. And of course, also on the backside, improved staff training. Most of what libraries do now is based on cloud-based services, and so having this access is really essential to their day-to-day management. Next slide. So here's a really great example of what this funding can do. One of our biggest member is the San Joaquin Valley Library System. Now, this is actually what they call a cooperative or consortium of library jurisdictions. So there's 15 county, city, and other local libraries that are members of this consortium. And they are members of the California Library Connect program as a group. They have centralized their IT system, their network. It's all one big WAN. And in our last round of grants, they applied for and received funding for a Wi-Fi expansion project. So as you can see here with this photo, this is Shaver Lake Branch, which is in Fresno County, sort of between Yosemite and Sequoia in the Sierras. So pretty remote, and it's great to have free Wi-Fi available to these communities. So this was one of the 92 branches out of the 105 in the system
that added wireless access points through this project. 88 of them installed outdoor ones. A lot of these small local libraries are understaffed and they don't have the ability to be open for very long hours on a day-to-day basis. So being able to have Wi-Fi reach the outside the parking lots in the surrounding area allows their patrons to benefit from the library even if they can't come in, after hours and so forth. In addition, this as part of this project, they were able to centralize the control and management of their wireless access points across the entire system, which allowed several of their member jurisdictions to cancel outside vendor contracts that were managing those for them. So now they've got a centralized system, easier to manage, and obviously it's much less expensive to the local branches because they're not having to pay an outside vendor to do it for them. As I mentioned, after hours and holiday access is great. And this project was funded both through the grant from the state library, and they also benefited from the federal E-rate program for what they call Category 2 funds, which is funds for this type of infrastructure equipment. So the end cost to the libraries was extremely small for the size and scope of this project. And you can see that this is an important service that they're offering their community. Pre-COVID 2019, they had 84,000 monthly users, which is significant. This year is the highest, even counting the COVID years. They're up to 181, almost 182,000 monthly users, individual unique logons across the system. So, really impactful. This is covering a huge part of the Central Valley, and it's just really great to see the benefit of this funding out there in the world. Next slide, please. So what can you do when you log in to library Wi-Fi? Well, one of the big projects we have right now is eBooks for All, or California's Bookshelf. This is a statewide digital collection. There's no cost to local libraries to promote this and activate it. Libraries can augment it with their own funds and materials, but essentially it's run through, there's an app called Palace. It's the Palace Project. Anyone can download that app on an iOS or Android device, and they are working on a tech neutral browser-based version as well. I don't think that's rolled out yet. But if you have an an IP address in California, you can access this collection at no cost. And then if you have a local library, they may have additional materials, but it's over 200,000 ebooks and audiobooks in over 20 languages. And you can request, if you don't see something you wanted to read, you can request it and they'll try to add it for you. This is over 222,000 checkouts in 2025. Again, this is accessible by anyone in the state. You don't have to have a library card, and it's free. It's free for the end user, and it's free for the libraries. So it's just a great program, a good example. We have several other programs similar to this, but this is a great example of supporting digital access for all Californians. And again, this is funded both from federal funds, state funds, and the locals as well. So just a great collaborative project. Next slide. So I gave you the highlights. I just also want to emphasize that, this is a rough time for libraries across the country because of the uncertain future of the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences. I don't know if people have followed the kind of saga of that, but essentially that office grants out block grants to the states, which we then use for programs like eBooks for All. And the funding was very uncertain the last couple of years. We did eventually secure it, but we're all sort of having to plan for what if we don't next year or the year after. So that's obviously a lot of strain on local budgets, which are also being cut. We actually had one county library that is currently shut down for the whole county for an indefinite amount of time because their local budget was cut completely from the county budget. On top of that, other federal funding like E-rate, it still exists, but Wi-Fi hotspots were eligible for a brief period and have now been made ineligible again. This is a really popular thing with libraries, having Wi-Fi hotspots to check out to patrons so they can take them home and have access. We're getting a lot of requests for finding funding to support them on this, and we're trying to do that. And then just the cost of connecting, and obviously with all the great work that's been done on the middle mile, that is starting to come down, and we're reaching further out there. But we still have some rural libraries that are struggling with connectivity. And that wraps up my slides. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. Just again, the importance of libraries and to our communities. I think of you bring the communication, the comm to community. I mean, it's so important of what you do. And I'd love to open it up to any of the members that might have questions. I see Ms. McPeak first.
Yeah, congratulations, Josh, and please convey that on behalf of CTF to State Librarian Lucas. My question goes to, with all this wonderful work and the amount of foundation of engaged libraries, and you listen to the Lifeline program, what are your first thoughts about how you can promote Lifeline throughout this this amazing network of libraries?
Well, as I said, I think, we definitely did some great work with you back on with the Affordable Connectivity Program. And it'll be a matter of looking at ways that we can promote it digitally using our communication systems, but also finding good materials and perhaps events at libraries where people can come in and learn about these programs. The struggle we're still having is with staffing. We'd love to have commit librarians to leading these sessions or being proactive in advocating for them, but a lot of times there's one or two staff on site at any given time, and they've got a lot of responsibilities. But it is obviously a great place for advertising these types of programs.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Houck?
Just really appreciated the presentation and wanted to just underscore how important this work is, and that libraries really open the door for so many people, both in regards to having a space to use the internet, as well as the digital libraries where folks may not have access to books or other information. So just really want to underscore the importance and recognize all of the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. Deputy Superintendent Nicely.
Yeah, Josh, kudos. I was just so excited to see this. And again, as we talk about K-12 and our families, right, that access and literacy, adult literacy, and families and parents being able to support their kids in reading and to have a love of reading. And I'm just so excited to see this. Absolutely, the importance of our libraries cannot be more stressed. I know that that's where I grew up with immigrant parents, right? Just in the library all the time. So thank you for this. And again, anything that we can do at CDE to support and be able to lift this this great program up is really awesome. So thank you. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Nicely. And I should mention that we have been collaborating closely with CDE and with the Imperial County Office of Education. They're our partner in this program. They handle the sort of aggregation and financial processing and all that sort of thing. We've had them for about a year and a half, and we're thrilled with their performance. And the reason that they're so good at it is they've been running the K-12 high-speed network, which essentially does the same service for the K-12 community, getting the county offices of education and then all the local school districts connected to CNIC for over 20 years. So they're the experts in this field. And it's been great working with them because they, now we're able to try and combine projects so that it's not just the library trying to get a circuit connected in this town. It's both the library and the school, and getting that economy of scale and collaborative projects going on, which really, again, reduces the price and makes the whole process more efficient. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicely. Is there any other questions for any of the council members? All right, I see none. Thank you, Mr. Chisholm.
Thank you.
We're going to go now to the community spotlight. We have founder and CEO Leonardo Sosa from Dev Mission, who is joining us in person today and drove in from San Francisco. So we are so excited to hear about what you are doing in the community. So Mr. Sosa, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair and Council members. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very delighted to see familiar faces like Sunny from back in the days when I was running the Digital Connected program at One Economy, connecting 5,000 low-income families across California to become financially stable, distributed computers, and that model became a national movement. Then I left that company or organization to join the Mission Economic Development Agency, and I run a program called Mission Techies. And thankfully to Comcast, we were able to connect 1,200 families to the Internet Essential program back then, and we also provided tablets and computers. But that didn't stop. In 2017, I decided to leave that job to start my own organization because you're looking at someone that lived 15 years in affordable housing and became financially stable. I always believe that young people are the technology ambassadors of the future. So today, I want to share with you what we're doing with my organization and the impact that we have made. Next slide, please. So Dev Mission is a 501c3 Bay Area-based nonprofit organization that trains young people for careers in the tech industry through post-secondary and employment pathways. We have a great model. We call it the bread and butter. It's a registered pre-apprenticeship program where we provide training, exposure, and opportunities. We want young people to see that it's possible to work in the tech industry. And the tech industry is everything. Even in this room, there's so much technology around that you have folks behind the scenes setting this up. I want young people to see that it's possible. Once they also graduate from the program, we offer what we call the Community Technology Program, where they learn work-based learning skills, and they provide free tech support in affordable housing communities in San Francisco through the Fiber to Housing program with the Mayor's Office and the Digital Equity. We also offer basic digital literacy workshops to English and Spanish speakers in San Francisco. And we also have a really cool model, which is our refurbishing center, where we distribute computers to low-income families in San Francisco. Next slide. So what is the Registered Pre-Apprenticeship Program? Well, it's a free program that allows young people ages 18 to 24 from Bay Area, not just San Francisco. We have young people coming from Vallejo, Livermore, Santa Clara, East Palo Alto, Oakland, because there's no programs like this out there. So we want to make sure that we're able to bring those programs to those communities one day when we expand. We provide also the tech skills and the engaging learning environment. There's a video that you're going to appreciate in a couple of minutes to show you what we do in the classroom. Virtual learning is not what we do. We do learning hands-on experience. The graduates receive a $1,100 stipend. That's provided by the Office of Economic Workforce Development, also to the COYA grant, which is the California Youth Apprenticeship Program as well. They receive a MacBook Pro, and we provide internship opportunities and apprenticeships in the tech industry. Sessions occur 3 times a year, spring, summer, and fall. It's a year-round program, and I'm gonna share with you some stats. That picture, it's a LinkedIn. Imagine young people never being able to go to a tech company, and they see themselves possible. Because I'll share with you some stats right now that will tell you why this program is the dopest program in San Francisco and the Bay Area. Next slide. So here are some numbers from the past 9 years. For our registered pre-apprenticeship program, we have enrolled over 500 young people in the program, 90% graduation rate. And as of last night, viewing LinkedIn, I saw another alumni getting a job, 351 placements in the San Francisco Bay Area tech industry. But our most important problem, the program that we're here to share with you today, is our Community Technology Program. Remember what I shared growing up in affordable housing, didn't have access to a computer, didn't have access to the internet. Comcast provided internet access to us at that time. So I really wanted to always give back to affordable housing communities. I don't call them poor, I call them financially challenged. So I want to make sure that low-income families across the Bay Area and San Francisco and the state receive some of the services that I'm going to share with you today. 5,000 low-income residents have trained with our program. Young people training those families and residents how to use computers. We offer free tech support right now in 12 affordable housing sites in San Francisco. The Mayor's Office has 38 fiber to housing projects. I want to be in every project helping affordable housing families how to use technology and become financially stable. Our basic digital literacy workshops, they're awesome. We have clients that have never used the mouse before, and now they're using Google Docs, Google Sheets, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel. They walk out with a laptop, and you should see their faces because they have learned how to become financially stable. We have a great model called Refurbathon. That picture is at the Women's Building. where I saw Scott about 2 months ago for the Digital Inclusion Summit. And that room gets packed with low-income families that don't speak English, and our young people provide workshops. And we also have access to Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, the San Francisco Public Library has come, the Digital Equity Office comes. It really gets everyone excited. There's free resources for you as long as you have the 3 pillars: internet access, a computer, and relevant training. And since then, we have distributed 2,100 computers to low-income families in San Francisco. So those are some of the numbers that we have been able to accomplish with my nonprofit. And my team is on the call today, so I'm gonna give a big shout out to my team at our headquarters. I know you're watching. This is because you continue to make it happen on a daily basis. Let's watch that short snip of the video.
My name is Kenya, and I am from cohort number 32.
My name's Yanitzia Camacho Lopez, and I'm part of cohort 31.
My name's Octavio, and I'm part of cohort 32.
My name is Ruby Singer, and I am from cohort 32.
Hi, I'm Serena. I am part of cohort 31.
Hi, my name is Chris Vega, and I am part of cohort 31.
I saw the list of all the different competencies that we get to learn in Deb Mission, and I was sold by like number 5. So much to learn, so many cool things to discover. I just had a little bit of experience with technology just from, what I could teach myself.
I saw how fast technology was developing, but I wasn't really seeing people like me make those developments. And so I wanted to change that narrative. I went to where I graduated from Mission High School, which is a high school here in San Francisco that is under-resourced and understaffed. And we didn't really have like robotics team or a computer science club, really. I really wanted to get into technology, and I was really passionate about it too.
In the past, I already had done marketing and project management, but I was looking for something new. Thankfully, I had friends who had done IT. They recommended that I should get into it. So I decided I'd give it a try, and I happened to find Dev Mission on LinkedIn.
What motivated me to join Deb Mission was that I wanted to partake in a program that would allow me to not only learn new skills, but also be part of a community with people who are on the same journey as myself.
So that's a snapshot of the video where you see young people being trained, and they go out in the communities and share the knowledge, because sharing is caring. And we want to continue to expand our program to other communities across the state, across the Bay Area, because I can tell you the need is there. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate everything you all do for my organization, because we're funded by CPUC, we're funded by Comcast, we're funded by other companies as well, tech industry, and we're just very thankful you giving us this opportunity. It's not my dream. It's the young people's dream that we connect, and the families that we're able to help as well.
Thank you, Mr. Souza, for the work that you are doing to build the next generation of tech leaders. And also, I love that what you're doing is also giving back to the community and the low-income housing, and that they are actually learning to be tech support for where they live or in their community. That is absolutely amazing. And being the top technologist for the governor, I will speak to your next up and coming. I went to college via Pell Grant, and I was also low income. If you see me, you can be me, and there is an opportunity for you also to be the state CIO at some point in time in your career. So please never should cut yourself short. There is these opportunities, embrace them, and continue to learn. So thank you so much for what you do for these young minds and for the community that you serve. So thank you. I'd love to open it up it looks like Commissioner Houck would like to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing the work that you're doing. Really appreciated being able to see the video as well. Just amazing work. This is why we're here. We want to make sure people are able to use these services in all communities across the state. And I just want to echo what Director Bailey Crimmins said about, giving back to the community and these folks working in their communities and making sure that people in the low-income housing are able to utilize it. I think as we've seen, adoption and being able to understand how things work and little things like not knowing how to turn your rotor off and on can make a big difference to people that don't understand how the technology works. So seeing community members helping each other is just really great. Just really want to commend you for the work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll go last.
Okay. All right, Deputy Superintendent Nicely.
What a great afternoon, great morning, seeing all these great presentations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was just, it warms my heart to see that is this amazing work that is happening and touches on so many different things around apprenticeships and being able to get kids excited about their futures. Like this is the future, and you are getting the kids ready for that, and you're working with these communities to get them connected. And I just can't say enough how excited I am to hopefully be able to come out and visit. I'm just across the bay in Berkeley. I know that I was in the mission recently with Director with Scott over in the Mission District. And there was a huge community event around digital equity, and to be able to see the energy and everything that's going on in this space. So thank you for giving back to the community. Thank you for supporting our kids to be ready for the jobs of the future and the jobs of today. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Nicely. Yes, Ms. McPeak.
Mr. Sosa, Leo, it is great to see you again. This is terrific. I'm very impressed with your progress, and actually sort of had an inkling to what you just said, because you're part of the Hispanic Federation network that is also operating, and they've nationally, but more of a presence in California. And the reason that I'm just commenting and belaboring this meeting is that part of what the Public Utilities Commission approved in the public benefits agreements out of the Verizon transaction is a commitment from Verizon for at least $500 million to be invested in California in small business in order to get to supplier diversity. Now, you don't get to small business if there are not workers who are able to be a part of those companies. I mean, so many of the companies that are in lower income, economically disadvantaged communities, to use your terminology, simply can't get the workers to even do their website, let alone what the cohorts of the folks you had on that video are doing. So I'm very excited, and had on my list to make this connection, and now I get to see you in person. It's really hard to get rid of some of us. I mean, when you and Scott and I go back more than a decade, we're continuing to be in this circle. So congratulations. I also want to take this opportunity to say, in that long thorough process that the Public Utilities Commission went through with Verizon, there's a very fundamental issue that is not only dear to our heart, but is DNA for California, and that is around what in the nation has been called DEI. I call it IDE. It's inclusion, to get to diversity, to get to equity. And what we advanced in our pleadings, and that was agreed to by Verizon, is that even the federal government and the FCC says they are for equal opportunity and non-discrimination. What we define is that there is systemic racism. The highest proxy for that, the most reliable indicator, is concentrated and persistent poverty. So if people are not, or companies or agencies, organizations are not getting people out of poverty, you will never get to, by definition, equal opportunity and non-discrimination. And if we do not end up in 5 years with a workforce and supplier diversity that represents the people of California, then we will not have achieved the goal, the stated goal that everyone at least still subscribes to, of equal opportunity and non-discrimination. We have $500 million on the table. The PUC's action has committed, Verizon will put another $150 million into this. If we achieve the goals or progress in the first $500 million, that's an infusion of money to get to true, small business diversity and equal opportunity with a workforce that you're training. So we're, maybe too bad for you, but you're back being my partner.
I will definitely appreciate that very much. And you've been an advocate for the work. Scott has also been an advocate. We go way back to 1995 with all the work that we've been doing together. So appreciate the kudos and look forward to continue the opportunity to expand.
Thank you, Mr. Souza. Again, great presentation. We are now at the end of our committee, but we are now, the last agenda item is public comment. So Ms. Nguyen, if you would please go ahead and provide public comment guidelines and begin that process for me.
Thank you. To ensure everyone who wishes to make a public comment can do so, we respectfully request one person per entity and 2 minutes per person. The order of public comments will be in-person comments, Zoom and phone comments, and emailed comments submitted prior to the meeting. For in-person comments, please form a line at the podium. For Zoom, please use your raise hand feature on the lower toolbar. Emailed comments received prior to the meeting will be read at the end. We will start with the first person in line at the podium. There are none. Next, we will hear comments from Zoom via raise hand. Or for call-in, please press *9. I see one hand from Lindsay Skonik.
Good morning, members of the council. My name is Lindsay Skolnick. I'm here speaking on behalf of the California Alliance for Digital Equity, also known as CADE. First, I would like to thank the CPUC for its leadership in advancing the home broadband pilot program to offer low-income residents relief with their internet bills. The pilot represents an exciting and innovative step in leveraging the Lifeline program to help close the broadband gap in communities statewide. We're really pleased to see that a number of internet service providers have submitted advice letters to participate in the pilot. Second, we wanted to speak to the MMBI news first shared at last week's MMAC meeting regarding the project development timeline likely extending into next year. Despite the MMBI delays, we greatly appreciate CDT's commitment to working closely with the CPUC to keep all FFA projects planning to connect to the network on track, ensuring those projects meet their grant requirements. Finally, we look forward to following the next steps with the Frontier Verizon merger. While Verizon's agreed to a number of significant infrastructure, deployment, service quality, and affordability commitments, thanks to the great work of many stakeholders in the settlement agreement process, we know the development of a robust enforcement program is key to compliance. Thank you for your consideration of my comments. We appreciate the leadership of this council as the state works to advance its digital equity goals and achieve broadband for all.
Thank you for your comment. I do not see any more hands on the Zoom, so we'll proceed. We did not receive any comments emailed prior to the meeting as well. With that, Madam Chair, that's you.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. All right. Well, I want to thank the council members, the presenters, and the public for their contributions to today. It takes all of us. That's very clear. It's a village to make any significant progress. And one of the things we were talking about as members is sometimes we always push ourselves, but California continues to lead the way. As we represent our California across the nation, we realize how far we've come, both at the local level and at the middle mile and at the service level. So continue the great work. These are collective accomplishments, and I appreciate the unwavering commitment to addressing digital equity. And I liked what Ms. McPeak said, it's inclusion and then diversity and then equity. So thank you so much for reminding us that. I also want to express the gratitude for everyone behind the scenes. Again, Sacramento County Administration Center behind us making things work, and obviously the Department of Technology team that's been doing a great job today. You are all valued. Our next meeting is scheduled for Friday, April 24th, 2026, starting at 9:30 a.m. here in the board chambers and online. With that, we will conclude the January 23rd, 2026 meeting adjourned. Thank you.